Haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Yud Zayin Amud Aleph, starting with Daf Tes Zayin Amud Beis, 3 lines from the bottom. The Gemara continues to ask on Shitas Rav. Rav explains that which we say mashkin is not tamei. It's talking about the mashkin in Beis Mitbachaya. That's the version that he has, Rav Yosef ben Yoezer ish Tzreida. That's talking about those specific mashkin of blood and water, those things that are found in the Beis Mitbachaya, in the Azara. When they shechted the animal, then there would be blood, as well as when they would wash the basar, there would be water. Those 2 things, he says, are only going to be Tami Midrabana, and they were not Goizer in the Beis HaMikdash. Ask the Gemara, Toshma, Hein Yisa Ish Basar Kodesh Beknaf Bigdoi. Here we have a pasuk from Chagai, and Chagai is testing the Kohanim. He wants to determine that during the time of Galus, where they lost the ability, they lost the Hanhaga of Tuma and Tahara, of Kodshim, do they still know the laws? So he's asking, when it comes to Hein Yisa Ish Basar Kodesh Beknaf Bigdoi. Basar Kodesh over here is referring as a euphemism for a sheretz, whereby it's an avatuma. That which is Beknaf Bigdoi, in the corner of the garment, V'noga Beknofe Shel HaLechem. And this sheretz touches, it comes in contact, physical contact, with lechem, which would make it into a rishon. Ve'el hanozid, and this lechem then comes in contact with nozid, with lentils, a lentil type of soup. That makes it into a sheni. Ve'el hayayin, which comes in contact with the yayin, making it into a shlishi. Ve'el shemen, which comes in contact with shemen that is kodesh, as a revi. Ve'el kol maichal, or any other maichal instead of the shemen, making it into a revi, hayikdosh. Ask Chagai to the Kehanim, will this become also tamei? Vayanu ha-Kehanim vayoimru loy. The Kehanim said, no, this 4th level tumah not. We're on top of Yud Zayin Amud Aleph. V'omar Rav. Now Gemara asked the question, Ishtabesh Kahanim. Now Rav has said that the Kahanim made a mistake by saying lav, that is not going to be tamei. So the Gemara is now asking, Rav had said that when it comes to things that are of oil, things that are of the Beis Mitbachaya, those are the things that are not going to be tamei. So here the Gemara is asking, over here, Rav explains that they were mishtabesh, the Kohanim. In other words, they made a mistake. And they said that the 4th level over here, when it touched the shemen, is not going to be tamei. And yet Rav said that when it comes to the Beit Mitbachaya, the yain and the shemen, which is the mashke Beis Mitbachaya, these are things that will be metameh. So you have a stira in Rav. Again, here Chagai, Rav is saying that the Kohanim are making a mistake by saying that the yain does not become tamei. Yet Rav himself said that when it comes to the Beit Mitbachaya, over there, that is the water and the dam, those mashkin, those things are not tamei. So why does Rav over here then say that over here they made a mistake? L'char, according to Rav, this should also become tamei. Answers the Gemara, midi dehava, midehu taime elul Rav. This is going to be only a question on Rav. Rav mashke beis mitbachaya tani. Rav, it won't be a question on either, because Rav, he explained the version that he had of Rav Yosef ben Yoezer ish Tzreida was that the mashkin of beit mitbachaya, those are the things that will not become tamei. Ava mashke beit mitbachaya mitame. But those mashkin of the mizbeach, the hainu, not only, right, here we're talking about oil and wine, those things would become tamei, and therefore it's not a steer. Rav would say that these kohanim were mishtabish, they made a mistake it should be indeed that they would become tamei, the yayin, when it was a fourth, and then the shemen, which would be a fourth level of tuma. Says the Gemara, Gufa, bringing back the statement we just made, Rav Omar Ishtabish Kahani. Rav says that the Kohanim made a mistake, they erred when they answered Chagai that the oil will not become a fourth level of Tuma, because the oil is Kodesh. Ushmul Omar Loi Ishtabish Kahani. Shmuel argues on Rav and says the Kohanim did not make a mistake, they did not err when they said the lo, it is not going to become Tamei. The Gemara now explains both these opinions. Rav Amar Ishtabish Kahani. Rav, who says that the Kohanim made a mistake, Revi b'kodesh boy minayu. They were asked by Chagai, a Revi, the fourth level of Kedusha, is it going to be Tamei? The Hainu, this Shemen. Va'amru le tar, and they said no. They said it's tar. So on that, Rav said they made a mistake. Ishtabish. Ushmul Omar lo ishtabish kahane, where Shmuel said the Kohan did not make a mistake. Chamishi bekodesh boy minayhu. They were asked about the fifth level of Tuma. Va'amre le tar, and they answer on that correctly. That fifth level does not become Tamei, it's Tahor. Asked the Gemara, Bishlam l'Rav. Hainu dichsiv arbo. It's written in this pasuk 4 levels. Lechem v'nazid v'yayin v'shemen. It's written that the sheret's touch was an avatuma v'lechem, which was a rishon. Then the lechem touched the nazid, which was a sheni. The nazid touched the yayin, which is a shlishi, and the yayin touched the shemen, which is a revi. So that makes very good sense. That we're asking about a revi, to which the Kohanim said it's not tamei, and that's why Rav says they were mishtabish. Ela l'Shmuel chamisha mina le. Where does Shmuel know that we're talking about 5 levels of fifth level tuma, and therefore he said they were correct in saying that it's not tamei? Answers the Gemara, miksi v'noga knafa. Does it say that the bread touched the sheretz itself? V'noga biknafoi kesiv. It says it touched biknafoi. Ba'meshenoga biknafoi. That which would touch the sheretz. So there was another level in between. Toshma, the Gemara now brings the following. Vayomer Chagai. Chagai said the following in the next pasuk. Im yiga tmei nefesh. B'kol ele hayitma. Chagai is further testing the Kohanim. And he says, if it's tmei nefesh, that which becomes a Tamei lenefesh, comes in contact with a dead body, if it touches one of these things, will it become then Tamei? Vayanu HaKohanim vayamru Yitma, to which the Kohanim answered Yitma, yes, it will become Tamei. And here everybody agrees that this indeed is correct. So Bishlam l'Shmuel is good according to Shmuel, b'dahacha lo ishtabish hasam, not only ishtabish, just like over here, the Kohanim did not make a mistake. So too over there, in the first example that we brought, that they were tested, when Shmuel said they did not make a mistake, they're consistent in not making a mistake. Elul Rav, but according to Rav, Maishna hachadish dabesh, u'maishna hasam de lo ishtabesh. Why is it different that over here we're saying they were correct, they were not mishtabesh, yet over there in the earlier case, then Rav said that they were mishtabish. Here there's inconsistency. If they did not know their halachos of Tumat Tahara, how come over here they knew it and over there they did not? Omar Rav Nachman, Omar Rabbi Bar Avua, Bekin heim betumas meis, vein bekin heim betumas sheretz. Rab Bar Avua, Rav Nachman Bar Amar Rab, in the name of Rabbi Bar Avua, answers that there's a distinction. In this case, it's talking about tumas hameis. There they're bekin. The Kohanim knew the halachos. When a tamei meis touches these and then makes the rishon, which then touches and makes into sheni, which is the shlishi, and then finally a revi, they understand that the tumas of a mace then causes all of that tumah. But when it comes to a sheretz, they are not baki in hilchos tumah, and therefore they do not think that the revi is a revi of tumah, and therefore they say tahara. And that's the distinction. Ravina Omar, Ravina says, however, no. Hasam Revi Hacha Shlishi. Ravina says, no, this is different. The case over here is talking about a Shlishi. Because when it says Tmei Meis, it's talking about the person himself was the one who was an Av, was Avi Avos HaTuma. So the mace itself came in contact with the lechem, which made the lechem into an avatuma. The lechem came in contact with the yayin, which then made it into a rishoin. And then the nalzid, making into the rishon. The nalzid came in contact with the yayin, making into a sheni. And the sheni, the nalzid, the yayin rather, come in contact with the shem and making it into a shlishi. That's why over here they knew to answer that indeed it is going to be tamei. Whereas before it was 4 levels. They made a mistake on the 4th level, thinking that a 4th level does not become tamei. Toshma. The Gemara now brings another pasuk from Chagai. I want to read the pasuk in its entirety. It states, Vayan Chagai vayomer. Chagai said, and he answered the following, Kein ha'am hazeh v'chein hagoy hazeh lefonai. Behold, this nation and this people is before me. Nu'um Hashem said, v'chein kol ma'aseh yedeihem, and all of their handiwork, kol v'asher yakrivu sham, that they will bring offerings there, tamehu will be tamei. These are the words of Chagai. We read the Gemara now. Vayan Chagai, and Chagai responded vayomer, and he said, Kohen ha'om hazeh. Yes, behold this people, v'chein hagoy hazeh, and this nation, lefonai num Hashem, before me Hashem says, v'goymer. Bishlam l'Rav hainu dichsiv tamei. According to Rav, it's very good why it says that indeed is tamei. Ela l'shmuel my tamei. According to Rav, it's very good because Rav says that the Kohanim were mishtabish. They made a mistake in terms of the 4th level, thinking that it's Torah when it's really tamei. So therefore, it's very good according to Rav that we would say their ma'aseh yedeihem and their korbanos will be tamei, because we don't know whether they were metameh, thinking that it was Torah. Ela l'shmuel my tamei. But according to Shmuel, why is it tamei? He said that the Kohanim were not mishtabish. Answers the Gemara, Ismuhui kol mesama, that Chagai was saying in a language of tmiyah, of wonderment. And that's why it's not a kasha on Shmuel. He was saying in a praise of the people, right, in a praise of the Kohanim, that in wonderment, would it be tamei, their ma'aseh yadayim and their korbanos? Ask the Gemara, behold, v'chein kol ma'aseh yadayim, behold, it states, and similarly, their ma'aseh yadayim. That's mashma, not a question of tamiyah, of wonderment, but rather, and similarly, it seems to say that this is indeed what Chagai is declaring, that their ma'aseh yadayim and their karbonos will be tamei. Omar marzutru avitema Rav Ashi mitoishe kilkalu es ma'aseim ma'ilalav ayam kasuv kilu ikivu betuma. He says Rav Ashi to explain, because they were mekalkil in their ma'aseh yadayim, meaning in the future, in their ma'aseh yadayim in the future, therefore there'll be a time that in Bayis Sheni, because of Shar Aveiros, their korbanos will be considered to be tamei. Gufa, the Gemara brings back the previous statement. Rav Tani Mashke Beis Mitbachayo. Rav, he taught that the version that he had of Rav Yosef ben Yoezer Ish Tzreida was saying that when it comes to those things that were used for Beit Mitbachayo, the hainu, the water, the mashkin of the water and the blood in the Beis Hamikdash, those were not tamei; those were remain tohor. The Levi Tani Mashke Bei Midbachai, whereas Levi taught that Rabbi Yosef ben Yoezer Ish Tzreida was saying something else. He was saying those mashkin the Beit Midbachaya, the hainu on the Mizbeach, which would include not only water and blood that is put on the Mizbeach, water as a nisuch hamayim, and blood as sprinkling the blood on the Mizbeach, but including also shemen and yayin as nisuch hayayin, and the shemen that was mixed together with the mincha offerings. So the Gemara says, Le Levi hanicha. According to Levi, it's very good. Isviru leiki Shmuel. If Levi explains like Shmuel, in what way? That we said earlier, the Omar Shmuel, the Omar dochen meletame. When it says that it's dochen, that it's pure, that it's tahor from being metame, it means tumas acherim, our tumas atzim yeshlan. It still has its own susceptibility of tuma. It's susceptible to tuma. It's not just metame others. Mishkachas lo, then we can understand the Nage Kulu Berisha. Then we can understand Chagai's words when he says that it touched Tamei Mace. Then Tamei Mace, then here we're talking about a situation where the Tamei Mace touched not the lechem, which touched the nazid, which touched the shemen, the yain and the shemen. No, that the Tamei Mace touched the one of these things. Touch either the lechem or the nazid or the shemen or the yayin. One of these things, whereby making it tamei. That would be very, 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 very well. That would go very well with the way Levi would be learning with Shmuel, because itself is tamei. It's just not metama acherim. Eli savar lekirav. But if you're going to learn that Levi goes like Rav, that itself does not become tamei. Dochan means dochan mamish. Domer dochan mamish. Heichi mishkachas lo. How would it make any sense what he was saying before? El al korchach kishmuel sirulei. But you have to say, therefore, Levi does learn like Shmuel, that itself, the mashkin, does become tamei. It's just not metame acherim. Says the Gemara Vayter l'Shmuel, and according to Shmuel, that who said that the words of the Kohanim in the original question that Chagai asked is not mishtabesh. Hanicha isavar lakarav. It's very well if you say that Shmuel would go like Rav in the sense that Tani mashke beis mitbachayo. In the version of Rav that had his version of Rabbi Yossi ben Yosef Ishtreda to be the beis mitbachayo, in the water and the dam, those mashkin do not become tummy. Aval mashke beis mitbachayo achrina nami mitamu. But the other things of oil and wine do become tamei. Revi hu deloi ovid chamishi. Then we would understand that the revi does not become a chamishi, and that's why he said it's not mishtabish. That is mishtabish rather, because the Kohanim. That's why Shmuel said it's not mishtabish, because that became a revi. Hashlishi ovid revi. But the diuk would be that only when it became a fifth, it's not going to mishtabish, because it would not become tamei. But a third to become a fourth would, yes, become tamei. So that would be going very well if you learned, indeed, that he holds like Rav, that's going talking about meit midbachaya. But meit midbachaya, the things that are put on the mizbeach, the oil and the wine, do also become tamei. Elai sover lekilevi. But if you learn like Levi, that it's also tohor, those that are beit midbachaya on the mizbeach, including the oil and the wine, my area revi, the loyavi the chamishi. Why mention that the fourth doesn't become a fifth, and therefore it's mishtabesh, or rather to say that the Kohanim are correct in saying that it's not tamei. Afilu sheni v'shlishi nami le'avid. Avidi. Even if it's going to be a second to the third, it would not be tamei, because according to this version of Levi, they don't become tamei at all, even oil and wine. Therefore, al korcha kerav sirule, you have to say that he holds like Rav, that the oil and the wine do become tamei. Says the Gemara, Tanya kavose de Rav, v'tanya kavose de Levi. We have a brisa that supports the opinion of Rav. That means the way Rav has his version of Rav Yosef ben Yoezer ish Tzreida, that only the water and the dam do not become tamei, but the yayin and the oil would become tamei. Whereas we also have a brisa like Levi, however, that says that all four things, the wine, the blood, the oil, and the oil, the wine, the water and the blood that are all put on the mizbeach do not become tamei. The opinion of Levi, his version of Rabbi Yossi ben Yosef ish Tzreida, as follows: Tanika v'asei de Levi. We have a brisa that supports Levi again. That Levi says it's all four mashkin, the water and the dam, as well as the yain and the shemen, do not become tamei. Hadam v'hayayin v'hashemen v'hamayim. Mashke b'midbachaya. These are considered to be the mashkim of the mizbeach. Shenitmu b'fnim v'hoitziu lachutz. That we become tamei, that became tamei b'fnim, and were taken out b'chutz taharin. They would remain tahor, which is what Levi is saying. They don't become tamei. Nitmu b'chutz v'chich nitzlan b'fnim. However, if they came tamei outside of the azara and they're brought inside in the azara, then tmein, because they were already tamei before. The hainu that they were also going to be metame, like Shmuel said. Eini asked the Gemara. So we had, before we go to the question, the Gemara has now proved that we have a brisa like Levi, that all four types of mashkin are themselves, dochan, are not going to be considered to be things that are going to mitame acherim. Aini asked the Gemara, Rav Yehoshua ben Levi. The Gemara just asking on this brisa on a prat in the Reisha. The Reisha stated nitmu b'fnim v'otziun l'chutz, and asked the Gemara from Rav Yehoshua ben Levi, Mashke bei midvechayo loy amru dochan ela b'mekaymon. Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi says the mashke of the mizbeach, they only said is dochan in b'mekaymon, in their place, dahainu in the azara. And yet over here, ma'elav lemu'ute nitmu b'fnim v'hotiun l'chutz is not referring to what Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi is saying, that it was nitmu b'fnim and then taken out b'chutz. And yet this brisa in the Reish is saying that it could be metame. Sorry, that it's not metame, it's taharin. So here, is it not coming to then exclude that case? Answer more, loy. No, it's coming to exclude the seifa, the case where it was nitmu b'chutz outside the azara and then brought inside. Then it will, yes, metame. Ask the Gemara, but Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi said b'mekaymon. Mashma that it remains inside. No, hochi kamar. This is what he meant to say. Lo yamru dochan ela shenitmu b'mekaymon. It's dochan only if it's nitmu b'mekaymon. So long as nitmu b'mekaymon, then just like the brisa stated, then it will remain tahor. It will not mitame acherim. That's going to be in line with the brisa. Now the Gemara brings a brisa that's going to support Rav. Tanya Kavasei de Rav. We have a brisa that supports Rav's version of Yosef ben Yoezer ish Shreda that says mitbachaya dahainu, that only the liquids, the mashkin of the base mitbachaya, which is water and blood, only those are not tamei to metame. According to Rav, they don't become tamei at all. Hadam vehamayim, says the brisa, mashke base mitbachaya, the water and the blood, they are mashke base mitbachaya. Just like Rav says, nitmu bein bekelim bein mekarka taharin, that are nitmu, whether they are put in a vessel or they